A new Swiss jail is asking for volunteers to test the prison. A cross-country skier suffers a frozen penis during the Olympics. And Wordle bans the word slave because it's offensive. These are the weird stories for Monday on Weird AF News, the only daily weird news podcast hosted by a comedian inside a closet. I'm here for you. Let's do it. A new Swiss jail is looking for volunteers. Would you be willing to live like a prisoner for a couple days, maybe a week? Hundreds of people have jumped at just this chance in the Swiss city of Zurich. These people have volunteered to take part in an open house of sorts for a new prison before the facility accepts its first inmates. Now, details of the March test run are still being worked out, but Zurich corrections authorities say that this week they received almost 1,000 applications for an as-yet undecided number of spots in the jail. The selected volunteers must live locally, be at least 18 years old. The volunteers are in store for an experience they say borders on a reality TV plot when they enter what's called Gefängnis Zurich West, also known as Zurich West Prison. These volunteers are very crucial. They will test the pre-trial detention and jail services. Oh, that sounds like a good time, pretending to be a prisoner, eating all that awful food. Maybe being thrown into solitary confinement for 48 hours or so. Someone's got to test the solitary confinement. Someone's got to test the bad food. Someone's got to test the torture chamber. What about the electric chair? Who's going to test that? Ooh, dicey. They're going to pay that person a little extra, little bonus for testing the electric chair. I jest, everybody. Let's read some more of this and see exactly what's going on here. The facility is located west of the city's main train station. The facility is expected to house up to 124 prisoners who will be under provisional arrest. Their temporary volunteers won't have to pay or get paid to participate in this jail's dress rehearsal. No, you're not going to get paid. You should get paid to eat that food. To sleep in a prison. You should get paid for that. They're going to be treated like inmates in some regards, it says here. Well, let's find out how. They'll be testing the food. They'll be undergoing intake procedures. They'll be walking the yard. Oh, goodness. They're going to get some free tats, is my guess. Some free prison tats. You don't want those prison tats, man. They're pretty bad. I've seen them. Yeah, very, very low-def prison tats, I'd say. The volunteers, believe it or not, are allowed to bring their cell phones. Well, that's not really having a prison experience if you can watch YouTube videos or talk to your girlfriend. You know what I mean? That's not really. They're allowed to actually bring other electronic devices inside as well. Like what? A DVD player? This isn't a real prison experience. It says here, every participant will require security clearance and need to undergo checks similar to airport screenings. Strip searches at the entry, however, will be optional. I don't know who's going to opt for that. I guess if you really want the authentic jail experience, you'll agree to a strip search. Like, no, I want to make it feel real. I was subject of a strip search because I was put in a jail in the middle of the country. I'm not going to tell you where it was. I had to take off all my clothes, and some man sprayed me with a hose. Sprayed my naked body with a hose. And let me tell you something. This guy enjoyed it a little bit too much, I think. He really did. I mean, you could have inserted a high-pitched giggle, and it would have seemed fitting. This guy just really enjoyed spraying somebody's naked butthole. Yeah, that wasn't a good experience at all. Anyways, back to the story. Back to the story. I know you have a lot of questions, but no time for that now. Now, these fake prisoners are going to receive a safe word that they can give the staff to bail out immediately if they get cold feet or start to crack under the jail-like conditions. So in the middle of a beating, in the middle of a flogging, you can say your safe word, whatever that might be. Cornbread! Cornbread! Next month's trial will enable corrections officials to test the jail's capacity, the services, the operations, as well as to review their cooperation and communication with other authorities, such as the police and prosecutors. So if any of you happen to be unemployed and just looking for adventure, and you don't have enough money for a true vacation, and you live in the area of Zurich, maybe volunteer at the prison and get back to me on that. Okay, you could actually listen to my podcast in the prison because your smartphone's allowed, so you never have to be away from Weird AF News. Isn't that a nice thing? I feel like prisoners need Weird AF News in their lives. An Olympic cross-country skier suffers frozen penis. The men's 50-kilometer mass start race at the Beijing Games was shortened to 30 kilometers, but that did very little to help Finland's Remi Lindholm, who needed a heat pack at the end of the race to thaw out a particularly sensitive body part on Remi. Oh boy, what happened to Remi? His little wee-wee got frozen. Lindholm spent just under an hour and 16 minutes traversing this course in howling, freezing winds. Very coarse ice conditions. It's the frozen tundra. And there he is, Remi, traversing it in the skis. But oh no, what happened? Remi has a frozen penis. His penis became frozen for the second time in a cross-country skiing race following a similar incident in Finland last year. Here's a quote from this Remi cross-country skier with the frozen penis. Well, you can guess which body part was a little bit frozen when I finished. It was one of the worst competitions I've ever been in. It was just about battling through it, my goodness. But you got to keep going, even with the frozen wee-wee, You can't let that hold you back. This is the Olympics after all. What am I going to pull over because I got a frozen dong? Hell no. I'm about winning. Sometimes you got to push through frozen penises to really, make a mark on history. No one's going to remember my frozen penis, but they'll remember it if I got the gold. You know what I mean? Got to do that, frozen penis or not. I think it still works. We're going to test it out after. I'm sorry, only half of that quote was accurate. With Olympics organizers worried about frostbite during the race over the weekend, it was delayed by an hour and shortened by 20 kilometers. Oh boy. The thin suits and underlayers worn by the racers, as well as plasters to cover their faces and ears, offered very little protection. Well, why not give them more than a thin suit then? What's wrong with you? Yeah, I see the suits on these skiers. My goodness. Like you wouldn't wear that in the fall. Never mind. Below zero temperatures. Of course you get a frozen wee-wee. Probably some frozen nipples as well, I'd imagine. Remi explained that he used a heat pack to try to thaw out his appendage once the race was over. He just pushed some heat packs down his pants. You should have put one down there while you were racing, bro. Yeah, here's another quote from Remi. When the body parts started to warm up after the finish, the pain, I tell you, man, the pain was unbearable when it started to warm up. My goodness. I thought I was going to fall off, man. I really did. Remi's completely unfazed. I'll tell you right now, you got to push through a frozen penis if you want to do anything with your life. I've committed myself to this sport, and I'll tell you right now, it's worth losing a penis altogether, man. You can buy them. You can get them reconstructed, I think. But yeah, pretty sure that's going on. Just go down to Thailand, pretty cheap. Then you get a whole new penis, really. But yeah, I can't just go to Thailand and get a gold medal from the Beijing Olympics, huh? Now, can I? No, I can't. Yay! You like podcasts? You're listening to my podcast. Maybe you thought to yourself, I'd like to make a podcast. Too difficult. No, not with Anchor. Anchor has free creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast from your phone or your computer. Anchor distributes your podcast to Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, and more. They have advertising integration, so you can even make a little money off your podcast. Everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. And good luck with your podcast. Good luck with your creation. Good luck with your life, man. Wordle has banned the word slave to stop users from entering offensive words. Wordle, the online word game that has become an internet phenomenon, has banned a number of insensitive or offensive words from the game since they were purchased by the New York Times, including the word slave. Users began noticing that words such as whore and bitch and slave are no longer able to be entered into the game, where players have up to 6 attempts to guess a 5-letter word each day. When these words are entered as a guess, the message, not in the word list, pops up. A spokesperson for the New York Times, who recently purchased the game for an undisclosed 7-figure sum, said that this word list has been updated to remove words that they deem insensitive or offensive. Here's a quote from a New York Times spokesman. We are updating the word list over time to remove obscure words to keep the puzzles accessible to more people, as well as some insensitive or offensive words. We don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, so we're just going to take out some words that might hurt people's feelings. This game could ruin someone's day or week or life. Who knows? I don't know. We don't want to offend anybody. Nope, can't do that. I mean, come on now. I love it. But the New York Times has no problem publishing a very graphic, bloody photo of war or violence on their front page. That's no problem. But no, we can't have a little offensive word. Can't have the word slave in the game. That's going to hurt people's feelings. War! Bloodshed! Front page. New York Times. The hypocrisy involved in this move. Do you understand what I'm saying here? Are we all on board with the hypocrisy? Of course, I agree with removing bitch and whore. That's terrible. Those words are terrible. Kids are going to play the game. But slave? Really? Okay. I just can't get into it. It's just such a misguided culture. The whole removal of offensive words in the language just... There's so much worse, more offensive. Here's what's more offensive than words. That cargo ship with all the burning Porsches that's in the middle of the Atlantic right now. That is so grotesquely offensive. It's ridiculous. But what's going to be done about that? What's going to be done about that? They're not going to remove that. This is going to happen again and again, in fact. The way we just toxify the planet, no problem. But no, guys, we just can't say some bad words to each other. What about that? War! War! Send the guns! Yeah, but what about the words, though? You can't have the words. All right, let me get off my soapbox. I apologize. I do that sometimes because this kind of stuff just pisses me off. It's just so ridiculous. And it's a sign of cultural immaturity, really. It honestly is. I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you agree with me? Do you think the word slave is like, should be removed from such platforms? You got to take it out of books as well? What are you doing? Before we start removing words, can we just get rid of gas-powered leaf blowers? Please. This is the most offensive thing in my world, is the leaf blowers. I had to wait for this guy to be done to even record this stuff. And I think if you listen carefully in the previous segments, you could probably hear that damn leaf blower. It's out there, man. It's grotesque. It's offensive. It's very insensitive. Call the show, 646-450-2012. Guys, be careful. Be careful. Watch out for the words. Oh, boy, watch out for the words. Carry some pepper spray so in case you get confronted with some words out there. Thank you for joining me once again for an episode of Weird AF News. I hope it's a nice break from the mainstream news, which currently is pretty bleak right now, unfortunately, with the state of affairs in the world. But hey, you know what we try and do at Weird AF News, man? We distract you from all that. We give you some silly, funny, ridiculous, weird stories. Sometimes I get a little angry. I apologize, but, you know, after all, I am a Bostonian. I got a little anger inside me. But we definitely skew on the side of silly and funny. We try to anyways. I want to give a shout out to those of you who sent me Florida articles. I hope you enjoyed that Florida Friday episode. It was a doozy. We gave you an extra segment because there was so many stories that you guys sent me. So I appreciate that. You can always send me stuff to funnyjones@gmail.com, or you can DM me on Instagram @funnyjones. I'd like to give some love to Stella Marie, who just became a patron. She just joined the Patreon, therefore becoming a patron. Stella is a beautiful blondie from the West Coast who has been, chatting it up on the Instagram, supporting the show. She sent me some treats in the past, some coffee. She's just lovely. And now she's joined the Patreon, and so I'm so grateful. So big shout out to Stella. I hope you enjoy the extra content in there, Stella. Please take a look around. There's a lot in there. There's a lot of stuff. I'm going to post some more stuff this week. I'm actually considering doing a weekly video of the weird things that I come across during the week in my own life, talking about it, you know. So, yeah, look out for that. That could be fun. And a nice glimpse into my life, my weird life. Because, I often encounter strange people, strange situations, strange places. So I thought, you know, might as well share that with the patrons. So we'll start making some videos, putting them in there exclusively for the patrons. You can join by going to patreon.com/weirdafnews or download the Patreon app, or go to weirdafnews.com and click on the Patreon banner. I got a nice email from Charlotte. She says, I hope you're doing well, Jonesy. I wanted to pass on something funny that happened while playing your broadcast. I was listening in the dining room as you were talking about the priest that botched the baptism by saying we instead of I, when my boyfriend calls out from the other room, maybe he had a mouse in his pocket. I was like, what are you talking about, a mouse? He says, maybe the priest had a mouse in his pocket. That's why he said we. We don't know. Who's to say? Hilarious. Impossible, I suppose. As always, love listening to the podcast. You're at the end of my flash news briefing, and it is always nice to end on a weird, kind, funny, shake-your-head story instead of the weird, kind of messed up, sometimes scary news stories that come before you. Love and weirdness from South Carolina, Charlotte, and Trad. Shout out to Charlotte and Trad from South Carolina. Love it. Appreciate it. Charlotte's also a Patreon. She's a patron, not a Patreon. She's a patron. I keep messing this up. Okay, I got another nice email from Christina Ford. She's from Kentucky. She sent me a story and hopes that I'm doing well and staying healthy. Thanks again for still making my day start off with a laugh and a smile, Jonesy. Lord knows we all need that. Stay happy. Your buddy in Kentucky, Christina Ford. Yeah, Christina. I'm going to hang out with you in Kentucky one of these days. I've never been to the Derby, by the way. I feel like I would have a good time with those drinks there. What are those drinks? The mint Jessup, mint Jeep, mint Django Unchained. What is it? Mint. It's a mint julep, Jonesy. Oh, mint julep. There it is. It's a mint julep. Yeah, I'd like to try that. Bet on some horses. I don't know how to do that, but I'm sure someone over there knows, can give me some advice. Perhaps you can, Christina Ford. I got some peeps in Kentucky. I can make a trip. Yeah, one day we'll get around the world, guys. We'll get there. I'll get myself an RV, maybe first. You know, one of those nice RVs with a full kitchen. Yeah, little bathroom, little podcast studio right in there. Oh, that'd be amazing. I don't really need a full podcast studio. Just an RV with a closet. That'll do. That'll freaking do. All right, if you guys want to drop me a line, you got the number, 646-450-2012. Please, don't be a stranger. Say hello. And thanks once again for being with me, spending your Monday with me. I love you very much, and I appreciate all y'all. All y'all? Yeah, all y'all.